Hello, we are live. Welcome to AfterCol, the live Big Brother Columbus after show where we bring the fireworks, have all the hot takes, and find out what went down in the latest episode of BBCOL7. This is a spoiler-free show, so we will only be talking about BBCOL7 up through episode 3. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest for today. He came into the game playing like a being the first person to use the veto, and he built up wasn't enough to keep him safe from the vote tonight. And so welcome Ewok.
Oh, hi. I've been drinking a lot of wine tonight in preparation for this moment, so I'm doing okay now.
Good. So let's go with the top story first. And again, let's keep everything through episode 3 only. Spoiler free. So,
Deal.
Since we do have a buyback coming up, so you have a chance. You were just evicted, but you've just found out that your game might not be over. What's going through your head at that point? You're walking out. Tell us what happened there.
Oh, okay. So I get the votes read by Executioner Julie, and it's one of those moments where it's like, fuck, okay, shit. So it happens, right? And I get my shit and I walk out the door just like everybody does. And I'm greeted by another Julie, and I'm expecting to get taken in the car and go away. And they say, you have a buyback. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is literally my only shot to get back in this game. If I don't do this, then I might as well have not flown from Seattle to be here.
Yeah, so now you have a chance to get back in. So, but how in the world did you end up evicted? It looked like your game was going so well. Why were you Jenna's target?
Okay, that's a good question for Jenna, I think. Honestly, I said it in the episode. I hadn't talked to Jenna at all. I don't even know if I'd introduced myself to Jenna by this point. And when she won the HOH competition, I was just thinking to myself, no, not yet. Because I knew like this all girls alliance was coming up hot. I knew that they were there, and I knew that they were coming for all the guys. And being someone who was not really in with Jenna or any of the girls, my only hope at this point was that since I had used the veto on Rachel week 1, that maybe she would be like, oh, maybe we can spare him one more week, anything like that. But it didn't happen.
So who were your alliances at this point?
Yeah. Oh, so my alliances at this point were obviously the first 5. So it was me, Matt, Tanika, you, and Sabrina. So we were the first 5. That was a pretty solid alliance as far as I was concerned. Also, I had the core 4 with Jack, Alme, and Matt. And then a little known secret, I was actually working with Tall Nate very, very closely as well.
So that might explain his vote at the end of the episode.
I think so.
Yeah. So let's go back to the beginning of the round. So we just had some big fallout because of this split vote between Nikki and Trevor. And the girls are all starting to point fingers at each other. The girls be angry, especially Justine and Rachel and Jenna. Which, let me just say, Rachel's leg tattoo looks badass. I think we got like a quick glimpse of it this episode.
I didn't see it.
So apparently, Nate wanted Nikki out because she's a middle ground player. How would you think that you're middle ground or above ground or below ground?
So, I mean, if you're asking me if I thought that I was a middle ground player, I mean, I think my goal was to be a middle ground player, but I used the veto week 1, and then apparently I've got sneaky eyes and sneaky ears, and I'm a sneaky sneakster. So apparently I wasn't as under the radar as I thought I was. Like I said, my goal was to come in and kind of lay low the first little bit. It didn't happen, so I was just rolling with it at that point. I think Jenna wasn't necessarily wrong in saying that I was talking to everybody. My goal definitely was to talk to everybody, and I think Jenna was the only person I missed at the end of the day.
And she saw you talking with everyone else.
And she got my ass. I mean, she got my ass.
So we... before we have the HOH, we have this kind of mass confusion about who voted for who. Taimika and Trevor are really close, so she voted to keep him. And we see that Jack wants to join an all-girls alliance.
Jack.
Did you want to join the All Girls Alliance too?
No, I wanted to destroy the All Girls Alliance.
What do you think the prerequisite is to join an All Girls Alliance?
Well, I think it's in the name. That's a good start, I think, and then maybe under the legal drinking age.
Maybe that's why he was wearing a wig for the veto competition.
Maybe.
He was, if you can't beat him, join him. So we have the HOH competition. It's loaded questions. It's called Lucky Guess, but it's like the loaded questions that we've seen in a lot of these competitions. Right. And so we have some pretty harsh categories brought up during this competition.
Brutal.
We have Who Do You Want to Never See Again, which was won by Jenna and Nate.
I know.
Is that who you voted for?
Honestly, I don't remember who I put down on the paper. I think at the end of the day, I put on my little pad Nate, just because of what happened with the Nikki vote. I just assumed that everybody was kind of salty about that because it just threw the entire game into chaos, which, I mean, is exactly what I wanted to happen, so that's great. But I think a lot of people were a little bit soured by that, so that's why Nate got a bit drugged through the mud during that particular competition.
Yes, and Matt, too. Matt got Gift of Gab. He was mistakenly thought he was running the game. Is Matt actually running the game at this point?
I think everybody thinks that Matt thinks he is, but I think Matt doesn't think so at this point.
Who do you think is playing the strongest game up to this point?
I mean, I think it was playing one of the better games as far as competitions. I mean, Matt's crushing it. And I think as far as who's somebody that can kind of slide under the radar and just be like good at this game, honestly, Justine. I think Justine is somebody who is really, really good at just like making alliances or making relationships.
Yeah, and she kind of seems like she's like insulated within the Girls Alliance behind
exactly
Jenna and Rachel, and it kind of seems like she would be a lesser target compared to the other ones. Yeah, who else? So what else do I have? I'm apparently easily intimidated, which I jumped every time the balloon was popped. So that was
it was
fair.
Also 3 a.m, so that didn't help.
Yeah, it was so loud. Okay, what you did not get from this episode is that it's so loud in that room.
So loud. The camera shaking was legit. Like the cameras were, oh my god, it was booming.
It's all hard surfaces, and we're all dead tired because it's 3 or 4 in the morning.
Oh yeah, it was late. We were tired. We were miserable. I mean, just let's just stab some shit and get on with the game.
Yeah, Ame, Matt, and Nate need therapy. We learned.
Well, I mean,
although everyone probably needs therapy.
It helps everybody. I can't single anybody out this particular conversation.
That's true. I mean, I probably do too. Nate's most likely to backstab. I missed a couple of the end ones. Most likely to succeed, Ame and Jenna. And look at that, they were the last 2 in the competition. Was that fate?
I mean, everybody's turn comes eventually. I think, was it fate in terms of Jenna winning? Yeah, I think so. I think it really was. I think it was just like one of those serendipitous moments where it was her time. And she was saying that she's not really sure how to do the HOH, but she had a really good HOH run to my detriment.
Yeah. And so we saw Taimika got eliminated first, and I don't think it was shown, but she eliminated herself. It might have been showed. She eliminated herself by putting her own balloon on her own name. Did you notice that when you were playing?
I don't think so. I was really concerned about keeping myself in. So as other people were getting out, I just blinders on to everything else except for my own game at that point.
Who were you targeting during the competition?
I don't know. Honestly, I think my strategy going into that game was whoever wasn't getting balloons, I was going to put a balloon on their name, with the exception of the people in the first 5 alliance. I think if anybody in the first 5 had, lesser, I would just skip over them because I had no desire to get somebody who I was working with out of the game.
Yeah. I think I put all of my balloons on the girls.
Yeah. I think
on
so
Jenna and Ame and Rachel. Which is not surprising then that I'm out very quickly. Which is interesting, like Rachel, Trevor, and me are out next, and we were all people who were on the block previously. So apparently we were just easy targets easy pickings for that. But none of us ended up on the block this round.
Lucky you.
Lucky us. Sorry.
Eh.
And Jenna wins this competition. How are you feeling when Jenna wins HOH?
It's shit. I mean, like, you can see my face. I'm just like, congratulations. Oh, shit. Congratulations. Right. I mean, like, I'm really nervous about this because it's not a secret to me at this point that Jenna is somebody who I need to be careful of. I mean, like, by the time we hit round 3, I was looking around and I was like, I haven't really talked to her at all. But I mean, like, Jack was running up to me that there was an all-girls alliance. Ame was running up to me that there's an all-girls alliance. Matt's running up to me that there's an all-girls alliance. Taimika, Sabrina. I mean, everyone's like, oh, there's an all-girls alliance. We got to be careful. So as far as I'm concerned, I mean, like, if this all-girls alliance is legit and I'm not being lied to, it's kind of the antithesis to our first 5 alliance. I mean, like, it's a major power alliance in the house that is now being advertised as a real thing that now is like the first true challenge to like our core alliance. I think that the game really was showing.
Yeah, and they didn't even really know that they were targeting first 5, but
well, that's the thing, right? The first 5 was a secret for the most part, but I mean, like, Jenna, like, she knocked an arrow and she took the first 5 to church on that one.
Yeah. Jenna was on a witch hunt in her HOH. But before we get to her talking to people, we see the shop for the first time.
Yeah.
Where Ame buys a veto ticket, which I find Ame in this episode very interesting because she makes a lot of decisions to protect her game. Because remember, coming out of last episode, she flipped against the Girls Alliance with her vote, and then Jenna wins HOH, and now she's trying to cover her tracks in various ways. And she's
doing a good job. She's doing a good job.
Yeah, she buys a veto ticket, says to avoid the back door, and I guess I don't know. I don't think it's shown exactly how the mechanics work for this shop, but as soon as the HOH is won, you have to choose to either go to the shop or not.
Yeah, line up or go do something else.
And so you don't have time to check in with the HOH before you get
exactly. It's a gamble, right? Because if you go to the shop, then you're not talking to people. You're just in this line. And if someone in your alliance is in the line with you, then that's great. But I mean, if not, then you're literally standing in line while the game is happening behind your back. And that's exactly where you don't want to be.
Yeah. Did you go to the shop this round?
No, I didn't go to the shop. I didn't get a chance to stop by.
Oh, so yeah, and we have Jack knowing that Ame flipped her vote and trying to cover his own tracks and lie better than her, or tell the truth better than she lies. And Ame, a couple times this episode, she pinky swears with Jenna.
On her dog's life.
Yeah. Sorry, Cooper, I hope you're still alive. And then there's a puppy noise, which is so savage. Like, poor Cooper. Coming from somebody who cuddles with puppies for a living, would
she doesn't give a shit about those puppies.
Right? Would you trust a pinky promise from Ame?
Pre-game, perhaps. Knowing what I know now, no.
And so Jenna wants to get you out because you're whispering, sneaky, and listening to conversations. Were you doing those things?
Yeah. I mean, of course I was, right? I mean, like, if you were in the kitchen, I was around the corner in the hallway. If you were in the living room, I was around the corner in the dining room. I mean, yeah, absolutely. That's how you play this game. Knowledge is power. If you don't know what's going on, you're screwed. If you don't have a name to bring up in nominations, the name is yours. I mean, like, yes, of course I'm going around, I'm talking to everybody. I'm making relationships with everybody. I mean, like, I'm doing everything that I can to stay in this game just another week longer. Honestly, she read me to filth. I mean, she had me like dead to rights on that. At no point in time was I still. At no point in time was I just like sitting there just waiting for the game to happen. Like, I'm playing this game. I'm actively working people. I'm working my angles. I'm working my plans. Like, I'm trying to make things work. And it came back to bite me.
Yeah. So if you were really sneaky, she wouldn't have noticed you.
I know. Not so sneaky, huh?
So she nominates you and Taimika. We don't really get a reason for Taimika from Jenna, but Taimika says they just weren't close.
Right.
And we don't get a speech from Jenna. Like, she seems to be a woman of few words. Is
cold? I call her cold.
So then we get to the veto competition, Kings and Queens veto. Jack is hosting in a wonderful wig.
Oh, she's pretty this week, wasn't she? She was gorgeous.
So you mentioned to me you watched previous BB Columbus seasons.
Yes.
How would you compare Jack in a wig to Alan from season 4?
Oh, I think Alan definitely brings a more... I don't know how to say this, more of a Princess Diana to the wig, whereas Jack was more of a Kesha, right? Just kind of like waiting for her to get mopped up off the floor.
So Alan wore it better.
Of course.
Okay. And then we get to this veto competition. Who is the best face? We have all of these gender swap faces.
I mean, Justine's face is pretty freaky in a really awesome way. I mean, you make a really pretty lady. I'm not going to lie. You make a gorgeous woman.
Thank you.
I think Rachel makes a really handsome man. The best face, though, hard to tell. I look too much like my mother in that to say it's me. So I'm gonna say you have the best face because you just have such a nice lady face in that lady pose.
Thank you so much. I might have a future in drag or something.
Oh, congratulations!
Oh gosh. So we have Ame and Jenna getting down to the finals of this competition and doing another pinky promise.
Okay, I want to talk about this for a second because I was pissed during this veto. I was pissed because I was working with Ame. I was working with her. She came up to me. We had an agreement for a Core 4 alliance. It was me, it was Jack, it was Ame, and it was Matt. We had that shit on lock. And then she's like, no, we're working together. We're good. We're cool. Yeah, we're cool. And then she immediately eliminates me from that competition. And it's like, what the hell? Like you're saying you're working with me, but you're not. Like you're clearly working for yourself. And you're working every single person in this house. And you better be careful.
Yeah, did that really hurt trust with you then?
I mean, the second that she eliminated me, yeah. I mean, I think Ame doing that really made me rethink the Core 4 in a way that really reprioritized myself into thinking okay, I have to protect our first 5 and to hell with this Core 4 because no one in that Core 4 is protecting me, Yeah. So I think that's kind of where my head was at the moment of being eliminated from that veto competition. Also, as soon as I was out, I was just like, this is going to be an uphill battle for me. I've got to get my diplomat's hat, make this look good, or else I'm done.
Yeah. And on one hand, if she didn't win, there was always that chance she can go on the block, whatever could happen.
Right.
But by winning, she showed her cards.
I mean, by winning,
she showed her cards in so many ways.
By not using the veto, I think that was the best move for her game. Because regardless of if she would use the veto, I mean, whoever she would have used it on, she would have pissed off the other side of the house. Because from what I can tell, everybody wanted my ass out. So, I think Ame not using it was a good thing for her game. But as far as the people that she said she was working with the exception of that Girls Alliance, who she's already backstabbed, she shows that she's not willing to work with anybody but herself. And I think that really was a moment for Ame that it's kind of a game-defining moment for her, in my opinion.
Really? Wow. I never thought of that in terms of her game. But looking back, that definitely makes sense. Also game-defining for Ame. When she's doing this competition, she's leafing through it like a stack of dollar bills at a strip club. Does Ame go to a lot of strip clubs?
God, I hope so. I hope so. Girl, get it. Right, if you're going, go and fucking get it. So.
So she wins, and at this point, so I have a question from Wade. Do you wish you talked to Jenna more this round to try to change her mind?
I tried. That's the thing about it. I tried talking to Jenna. I mean, you see me on camera talking to Rachel, I think, the most, because she was the only one out of that girls group who would talk to me. I I talked to Justine very briefly, but that conversation went nowhere fast. And then, I talked to Rachel and I was like, hey, Rachel, I was kind of scratching your back a little bit. Maybe we can scratch each other's backs a little bit and, maybe not vote me out of the game. And that didn't happen, right? So I tried to talk to Jenna a little bit and it was just kind of like, no, thank you. I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah, well, it's hard to tell. Like, this is not regular Big Brother. This is, we are playing this a whole round in a matter of a couple hours.
Yeah,
maybe.
Just hours.
And which means you have maybe 10 minutes to talk with somebody. That's not enough time to change somebody's mind.
Exactly.
When they already have it made up.
Exactly. And she had her mind made up. The Girls Alliance was coming for me because, at the end of the day, regardless of whether or not the Girls Alliance trusted Taimika's a girl, right? And that is automatically a strike against me when it comes to this vote. Like, I had no chance. I had absolutely no chance of surviving this one.
In the chat, Trevor says he loves how you turn into an old smoker lady when trying to save yourself.
I'm an old smoker lady at heart. That's true.
When you're trying to save yourself, you talk to Rachel, and you think because you use this veto on her in round one. What was your relationship like with Rachel? I feel like I didn't get a good sense of it.
Honestly, we didn't have one. I used the veto on her in the first week because I had heard so much that there was an all-girl alliance kind of brewing. So week one, you kind of hear you see people talking, you hear people kind of chatting about what they want to do. So I had heard that there was kind of this girls thing starting to brew a little bit. So my idea with taking Rachel off the block the first week was maybe I can get a little bit of good feelings with the girls group. So when they start actually taking people out, if they get that much power, then hopefully it's not going to be me who they come after first. And I have time to react to that. So my conversation with Rachel in that moment was a lot of, telling her that I would really like to use it, but not telling her that what she should do, because telling people what they should do is an automatic, that's not what they're going to do. Yeah. So my approach to that conversation was more so I want to just make sure that she knows that if these roles were reversed, and they have been, that I would be on her side. So I would hope that she would be on my side. Again, that didn't happen. And
would you ever going back? Would you, if you could again, would you try to solidify something more with Rachel?
I don't know. I don't know, because the problem, and I think there's a little bit of hubris on my end, was that because I had the core four and I had the first five, I felt safe. I felt I've got a lot of people working with me. I got a lot of people working for me in my mind, and I had nothing to worry about. So the people that I didn't have great relationships with, in my mind, was just okay, you're the next ones out because, we've got this on lock and you're just done. And again, that's not how it happened. And I had a moment of real comeuppance there when it was my time to get burned.
Yeah. And she said that Rachel says she doesn't want to vote Taimika because she traveled really far.
I think Seattle's further away than Los Angeles. Thank you very goddamn much.
That was a weird reason. Then we get to the voting. In your final plea, you say you're honest to everybody. Is that true?
Nah, no, of course. No. Honest to a point. The people that I was working with, yeah, I was honest with them. My first five people, I had been mostly honest with Ame up until after the veto. And as soon as the veto was over, I was just fuck this. But people I think Matt and Sabrina and you and Taimika were the people that I was working with the most closely. But I think, especially with you and Sabrina, I wasn't talking to you two a lot in the beginning because I knew that we were working together. So the people that I was being seen talking to a lot were Matt, Taimika, and Jack a lot, weirdly, were people that I was working with pretty closely. So I was hoping that I would have enough votes at that point to be able to stay in the house because I didn't know who Taimika was talking to. But I also didn't know how heavily my name was being thrown out there.
Who were you? This is a question from Tim. Who were you not close to other than Jenna? Who were you least close with?
Least close with? Besides Rachel, or not Rachel, but Nikki and Robert, who were already gone at this point. I think the people I was least close with were Justine, Jenna, and Rachel. I think at this point also I was not very close with Trevor, something that I do kind of regret at this point. My relationship with Trevor, he was definitely somebody who I felt like was being used as a pawn a lot. And I definitely, I participated in that happening, which I don't feel great about. So going back, I think that I would definitely make more of an effort to be less shady towards Trevor, because I had no reason to be. It was just a situation where I had my people I was working with, and he wasn't one of them. And again, it came back and it bit me in the ass.
Yeah, and you don't want them to know that, because somebody always survives a vote.
Exactly.
Question from Wade that just came up in the chat. Did you try? What was your pitch to Ame to try to get her vote? Because you were still, on the surface at least, still working with her.
Oh yeah, and I mean, like, even up until the vote, like, my thought was like, okay, maybe there's still a chance. Like, she's saving face with the girls' lines. That was my thought process. She's saving face with the girls' lines. She's not really gonna dick me over, is she? She did. But my thing with, like, my conversations with Ame to that point were like, are we good? Because you're telling me that we're good, and everything that you're doing tells me that we're not good. So can you please try to clarify what the fuck's going on? And, she was wishy-washy. She was shady. And my conversations where Ame was a lot of her giving me a lot of lip service and not a lot of results.
Yeah. So I want to get to some hypotheticals in a little bit.
Sure.
I want to break down how some of the voting went.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So we get to Jack is the first vote. He does a monologue.
Always.
He talks about being in the middle. He voted with the girls, but he's doing well. And then he talks for like another 3 minutes. And he wants to flip back to the guys. Have you ever flipped back to the guys?
Oh, I flip back to the guys every Saturday. But as far as my game goes, I never wavered from my core 5 alliance.
I'm just like, these monologues are so long. Like, get on with it, Jack. Get on with it. Just say your vote. Just say your vote. The votes are kind of along gender lines again. Mm-hmm. We have all of the guys except for Trevor voting against Taimika, and all of the girls voting against you, and plus Trevor. Which did you have any idea who the votes to keep you were?
No, I had no idea. My assumptions were Matt voted to keep me, and I assumed that Jack had voted to keep me. At this point, I didn't know that Jack was more of a chaos character, so him keeping me is actually a surprise in and of itself, even though that I thought that he was keeping me. Matt, I knew was keeping me just because me and Matt were tight the entire time that we were playing together. As far as the rest of the votes go, no, I honestly had no idea who voted for me and who voted against me at all. And there were definitely a couple surprises tonight from some people.
Who surprised you?
Sabrina surprised me the most, I think. I definitely feel the most betrayed by Sabrina, because in my mind, she was like in my core, right? Like, she were the people that I would go the furthest in this game with if I could. And I think that at the end of the day, I was really hoping that she could be somebody that I could trust. And I was so surprised. I didn't know that she had voted against me. So be careful in that battle back, right? Like,
she was with that girls alliance.
I know. And for me,
Sabrina has all the alliances. She talks earlier in the episode. She's aligned with the first 5, Jack and Ame. Like, you were aligned with Jack and Ame in the same way, and myself. And so she's covered kind of along the same bases that you are. Right.
And I mean, that's why, I can't fault her for anything, right? Like, I feel betrayed, of course, because it's Big Brother. You get fucking betrayed. But I mean, I don't fault her for that, because at the end of the day, you have to play a game that's good for yours. And if I'm not good for Sabrina's game, I can't fault her for wanting to get rid of me. Am I betrayed? Hell yeah, I'm betrayed. But at the same time, like, good gameplay, lady. Like, you did what you needed to do.
So how do you think the vote breaks down? Here's a hypothetical. How do you think the vote breaks down if Ame uses the veto on Taimika and Matt would go up? So if it's you versus Matt.
As much as I hate to continue drag Matt, I think that if Matt were on the block against me, it would have been Matt instead of me. He had just won more competitions by that point. Like I said in the episode, he was the squeaky wheel. He was somebody who everybody had noticed. And I was hoping to not be the person that everybody noticed.
See, I don't know. I would have voted against you in that case.
well.
Tried and actually tried to keep Matt because he was such a big shield. And I feel like number of other people, especially in the first 5, might have viewed Matt the same way. I think it would have been really close. I don't think it was it would have been a landslide.
I mean,
Matt going home.
It's fun to hypothesize. I wish that I could say I would have stayed in that circumstance, but I mean, there's a lot of arguments why I still would have gone home.
Yeah, it would have been tough. I would have been a crazy round if you two had been against each other. So some questions from Sabrina. She wanted
yes,
to know,
dear.
Who did you want to pitch a final to? If anybody at this point in the game.
I had 2 final 2s in mind by this point. Honestly, my final 2s were either going to be Jack or they were going to be Sabrina. And the reason that was because, again, I think as far as Sabrina's concerned, she would have been somebody that I would have wanted to work with deep into the game because I trusted her. As far as Jack is concerned, as far as I knew in the moment, him and I were always on the same page. He was somebody who was he wasn't winning anything. And he was definitely somebody that I felt like I could just get through the game with, and then at the end, somebody I could possibly beat. We'll never know, but in the moment, that's what I would have done.
Yeah. Fantastic. What was your favorite competition?
My favorite competition. I mean, I didn't really play in a ton of them. I guess my favorite competition was the veto that I won because it was something that I won.
Fair.
Because the first head of household.
Were you a server for a while?
No, never a server. Just a ballerina in my own time.
And what was Sabrina wants to know? Do you own an Ewok costume?
An Ewok costume? No, I have a little action figure about this big that I keep on my desk at work, but I don't actually own a costume.
So where does the name Ewok come from?
Honestly, it has nothing to do with Star Wars, as far as I know. I was at a party my 3rd week of college when I was a freshman. I was with a group of people who ended up being like my best friends at the end of the day, and from what I recall of the situation, it was just a bunch of people talking. I had shaggy hair. I mean, my hair is kind of long right now, but my hair was kind of like shaggy and moppy at the time. Someone's like, "You're kind of cute like an Ewok. I just want to call you Ewok." And then I woke up the next morning, and here we are like 15 years later, and I'm still being called Ewok. So
awesome. Kyle wants to know, what's your favorite past season of Big Brother Columbus, and who's your favorite past player?
My favorite season. I have a couple of ones. I think my favorite season overall was season 4. The season, and Audrey, I think, was one of my favorite players. I mean, she was such an underrated player. She was somebody who came into the house. She never really played or knew what this game was, and she fucking crushed it. So I think she was learning as she was playing. So I think Audrey was definitely somebody that I would view as one of my favorites. Legendary favorites, my favorite would be Jen.
Jen, awesome. Okay, I have a fun question for you. If you could assign house guests to be Jedi or Sith, which would they be?
All the girls would be Sith, and except for Tamika. Tamika's awesome. And all of the guys would be Jedi, except Tall Nate. He'd be a Sith.
Okay, definitely. Would you play again if you had the chance?
Oh, absolutely. In a heartbeat. I mean, I think it was one of the most fun, exciting experiences of my life. I mean, like, it was one of those things that, like, you don't really think is going to be such a big deal before you walk in. And then when you walk into that house, I mean, you're just completely consumed with the narrative and the gameplay and the people. And it just becomes bigger than what you think it is on the outside.
Yeah. So what would you have changed about your game at this point?
Oh, I mean, number one, I would have talked to Jenna more. I would have been her best fucking friend at the end of the day had I known what I know now. But I don't know, because there was a lot of criticism with me using the veto week 1, but I also think it set the stage for a really, really competitive summer. So I would say I think the only thing that I would really change would be, I guess, having less sneaky eyes towards Trevor and being better friends with Jenna.
Cool. And Wade wants to know, if this were sequester and you had to drag someone out of the house with you after the vote, who would you have dragged out with you?
Dragged out with me?
Yeah, who would you eliminate, forced to be eliminated after the vote?
The way that I was feeling in that moment, probably Ame.
Ame, yeah.
Yeah. Because I had a chance. Like, my only chance was the veto. So either I would have won the veto or she would have used the veto on me, and she eliminated from the competition and she didn't use the veto on me. It would have been her, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, that's all the time I have, all the questions I have. So thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Nathan.
I cannot wait to see who gets back in the house next week.
It's so exciting.
So much suspense. Such suspense. But
I hope everyone's rooting for me. So good thoughts from America on that front. And we'll just have to see.
Before we go, how might people follow you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram. Adam Ewok is my tag. That would be the best way. Yeah.
Cool. And of course, you can subscribe to Nathan Tyler Sings on YouTube to get all of the AfterCol coverage throughout the season. That's my username on all the social medias. Until next time, expect the unexpected and take care, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.